Our next story for review is the outcome of President Buhari's anti-corruption drive. President Buhari's anti-corruption drive struggled to make a significant headway in 2018. The underlying issue still remained that no one was sent to jail for corruption. Take, for instance, the claim by a JAMB official, Philomena Cheche, who actually did say a mysterious snake swallowed 36 million naira from the vault of the JAMB office in Benue State. And then there was the issue of Kemi Adeosun's NYSC certificate forgery, which finally led to her resignation. And there are a number of other situations.
So let me start with Kemi Adeosun's. I wasn't her biggest fan. But that reason why she exited was very
ridiculous.
Sad. Was very sad.
Yes.
She did not need to have gotten an exemption in the first place, because at the time she was in university, she was not even in Nigeria. She had Nigerian ancestry, but she didn't have a Nigerian passport. So the questions of whether she was eligible or not came afterwards. You get. So, it's all this case of she comes into Nigeria and somebody tells her, auntie, you need to get this, and how do we get it? Oh, you just give it to somebody. So she was just naive in many areas, because she didn't need to get it, and then how do I get it? And then somebody. So those questions, it became petty, it was political. She shouldn't have gone for it. I remember I started by saying I wasn't her biggest fan, but leaving that way was. I don't think it was something that had to do with corruption, in itself. But those things kind of model themselves together.
The snake.
But
the snake,
yeah.
The snake.
Oh, the snake.
You're eager to go.
No, I'm not eager to go about snake. I was going to say I was looking forward to Tunji's thoughts on the jam snake thing. But it just goes to highlight, the fact that there were certain aspects of this anti-corruption drive which just absolutely ridiculous to begin with, right? Yeah. Where people had run out of explanations for grafts and clear oversight issues that they had to resort to the animal kingdom for some inspiration.
We had the Turkish rats.
Yes, we also had the rats. I think it was the rats in the national. I think the rats
at
Aso Rock.
Aso Rock
had the rats problem.
I think that was the actual invasion that we.
Okay. So I've just gotten tired of explaining this to people. I think it was around maybe 2013. I was explaining to Nigerians that, our problem is not corruption.
Yeah.
Corruption itself is a show of a systemic failure. Anybody given the right circumstances would do those things we call corruption.
Absolutely.
As long as, is there anywhere in the world where they do not have malpractice?
People are always trying to be the system everywhere.
The biggest fraud story ever that I've ever come across is still the LIBOR scandal, and it happened in the UK, in collaboration with the US banks. That for me is proof that corruption is not Nigerian, right? But how is it that those people have been able to curb it? They've created systems. They've not, relied on individuals, to be able to make sure that if you are doing something wrong, the system will point it out eventually, and the system will make sure that you're punished for it as a punitive measure to other people so that they don't do the same thing. So that at least when you're doing it, you're in full glare of the fact that if I'm doing this, I probably will be going away for it.
Right.
As against, I just need to acquire a lot so that I can have a lot of sounds to be able to defend
Don't shade.
No, but we know that is what happens.
But I'll let that pass.
Frustrate the judicial process. Just keep it going.
Absolutely.
Because
when you've amassed enough money, you can actually fight the system.
It's a global thing.
But this is a global thing. But that's why the rich get away with crime.
How much money?
Whilst I agree with Tunji that
let's not turn the conversation that way.
Whilst I agree with Tunji that corruption is an internationalized thing, you see, we can't throw the bulk at lawyers, because what they say lawyers do here in Nigeria is the same thing they do anywhere in the
Yes,
world.
but he's not.
Inclusive the
I'm
US.
But he's not throwing it at lawyers.
I don't even want us to turn the conversation.
Allow me to say. He's not blaming it on lawyers. He's focusing on corruption.
And
can we also focus on the impact of the administration, especially if the government
the administration
they want to fight corruption?
Administration from day one has been misguided to think or put corruption as its forefront. There is proof that there is actually no sector that there isn't some sort of what's the word now?
What you mean? Industrial espionage.
No, the legal illegalities.
Yes.
That way.
Right.
So there's somebody that was telling me about he's in the oil and gas downstream industry, and he says if you don't pay some particular fees which are not legal, you will not load. If you do not pay those fees, you would they're illegal, right? Everybody knows they're illegal, but if you don't pay, you don't get to load. And then you are forced, if you're the one that wants to blow the whistle, every other person is paying. So you see, there are a lot of sectors where, and you know, this is the thing, in systems that have systemic failures, corruption then becomes the driver of economic
Absolutely.
activity. And it has been
So
the
if I
driver of
talk
Nigeria's
about
economic activity for
for many years.
So if you come and you then point at it as the problem, you don't even know the issues, because the issues are not corruption.
They're beyond.
They're beyond corruption.
Yeah.
So in the
if
new
you
year,
talk about the administration,
yeah.
let me ask your question. Go ahead.
So in the new year,
Yeah.
do you think that the drive will intensify
Okay.
to sort of?
Okay, so let me answer. So it segues into each other, or should I say they kind of work together. Yes, the administration came in a very naive manner. Buhari, fundamentally, and we must remember all he said to us is, I will fight corruption, right? He never said I knew about the economy. He never said I knew how to turn Nigerians, have more millionaires in Nigeria. He didn't know I knew how to solve the youth unemployment issue. He just said, I will fight corruption. And in his own simplistic naivety, he felt it was literally a case of
Just
yes,
scare everybody,
gather the soldiers
yeah.
together and whatever. But what happened with corruption is, it wasn't that he didn't want to fight it. I mean, I call it the popcorn war on corruption, right? It wasn't that he didn't want to fight it, but he was the only one fighting it. That was the issue. If everybody else was fighting corruption with him, we may not have ended up in this mess.
If we had a system that was designed
to fight corruption. No, but Kemi did that. But this is where we have to come. Sorry, Henry. This is where we have to mention Kemi. Kemi did a lot of work to ensure.
Kemi is one person.
And that's why they had to get her out. That's why they had to get her out.
That's why we do not need strong men.
So when Wole Soyinka said corruption will fight back, he said it all. He said when you fight corruption, corruption fights back.
Anywhere in the world, right? You don't. Okay, so for instance, I have rats in my house, right? So what I go and do, because I want to get rats out of my house, is I start gymming, doing press ups so that I can chase them. So I'm quick and I'm looking
with a baseball bat.
Yeah, baseball bats, and what I just need to do is plug the hose they're coming from.
Absolutely, before you fumigate.
And then
before you fumigate,
for instance,
yes.
if I know that I've done that, I've plugged the hose, then I put rat poison around the house to make sure that.
But that's what Kemi was doing.
No, but you see, that's the thing. I'm creating systems in my house. I'm not being the one chasing it.
Yeah, but no. But she wasn't. She was creating. She was plugging the holes.
That was why she was able to be fought, because she was doing it alone. Now she has.
And he was doing it alone. And you had a Shibaji doing it alone.
Do you want me to prove it to you?
Maybe I will join here.
Do you want me to prove it to you?
My take on.
She stepped away right now.
Right.
The next person there is also somebody that is of good integrity, good sound mind. She also works with the same administration.
But
Her
she's
focus
very
is
quiet
different.
locally, yeah.
Her focus is different. She's not talking about
No,
votes.
no.
She's not talking about taxes.
No,
she's not talking about blocking leakage.
She's very quiet locally. She's very quiet locally. She's talking externally.
You see what I'm talking about? Strong person, not strong institution.
Yeah.
Because if Kemi had focused on creating the system, even if she had left, the focus of the institution would have still remained.
No, but I think that's unfair. I think that's unfair. I think she did.
I think the corruption drive was, in my opinion, was set up right from inception to fail, because we thought that we could nip corruption in the
I
bud
didn't think so.
by looking
That's
at the
not
character
something-
or the personality of the person we
I
were
didn't
voting
think
into
so. I
office.
knew it
And
was-
so he felt that his personality,
Yeah.
you know, at the time Buhari was
Yeah.
voted into office, a lot of us actually thought that, see, if a Buhari
I
was there,
repeat, I did
you know,
not
a lot of
think
us felt
I
that
repeat,
Buhari
I
had,
was also in your
Buhari
position
had
on that.
this
Right.
personality that almost everybody, at some point in certain parlance, people already said
No,
that
I think-
Buhari
I think
was
Wallif
the
is
beginning
right.
of
Okay.
corruption.
So I think the object lesson from all of this is personality doesn't win.
Personality
these
doesn't
fights.
win the fight. As
In
Tunji rightly said,
in
it's about systems.
Are we gonna see things
democracies that
changing?
inherently
Are we going to see things change
Are we
next
gonna,
year?
are we gonna see
No.
things
No.
change?
I doubt that.
No.
Because I was
No,
almost going
because
to
if-
christen
if-
that headline, the outcome of President Buhari's selective anti-corruption drive.
Look, it's not even that. I think if Kemi was still there, and I'm sorry, if Kemi was still there and she had allowed to continue her job, if Buhari was able to engage more anti-corruption soldiers, if he listened, because one of the things that people didn't know, this anti-corruption war was also getting international support. And had he bothered to even be patient, he needs to fix the FCC. Allow me, he needs to fix the FCC. So all of that, if all of that is not there, forget it. Nothing's going to change.
You know the reason why I think the way I did, I've been very, very much involved in, I was at the center of this corruption war because at certain points in my practice, the whole of 2016, 2017 for me was very definitive here because I actually represent the many trade unions in the country. Sometime in 2016, I don't know if you know about the story of the former CMD, the Chief Medical Director of the Federal Medical Center, Owerri, who was allegedly reported to have been involved in grafting, contract bloating and the sort, and she was reported, and for over a year, the medical center was closed down and the workers were not going to work, they were not paid, hunger was in the air. And so we stepped in. One of the first things we did as lawyers was when we were briefed by the NLC to represent them in the matter was to write the government and say that, look, you have this very corrupt officer in your government. She was appointed by the Ministry of Health. Some of us say that the Ministry of Health is one of the biggest corrupt ministry in the country. And now we came in, we had written to the federal government to take steps. And besides, this woman had already been reported to the EFCC. The EFCC had commenced investigation, and there was even a charge that was filed at the High Court in Owerri. I was almost lynched in Owerri when I did this matter. But the federal government did nothing. And guess what? We took the matter up and said that perhaps we can apply for judicial review.
The federal government can't.
No,
It's not the federal
no,
government.
I'll tell you why.
would,
Maybe you should hear it out
Yeah,
first.
yeah.
Now, whilst this matter, we took this matter up at the National Industrial Court, Abuja, to compel the federal government to take a step. What we simply asked was that whilst this woman's trial was going on, can you interdict this woman? Can you temporarily remove her from office pending the conclusion of a criminal investigation? We were still at this when I think it's still the same chairman of the Corruption Investigation Committee, Chief Okoye Obongo Obla. We were in court when somebody did a memo from the Office of the Attorney General clarifying this woman. Now, this is
You mean clearing her?
clearing her from all indictments, saying that this is a matter I've been involved in. I was shuttling between.
So
Owerri
your
and Abuja.
point is that with the corruption, with
But
the
my
fight,
point is that the
We will
president,
never win the war of
president may
corruption,
have
is
been
that what
well
you're saying?
intentioned, but he seems to be surrounded by whether he doesn't know.
He doesn't have enough
whether
soldiers.
This is naivety or whether this is an absolute. It was just absolutely avoiding to deal
Wofai,
with that.
I'm
issue.
afraid-
But that's what was happening.
Before it sounds like I'm supporting corruption, I'm saying, and I repeat, the only way to win corruption
is to change the system.
is to fix the laws. Is to make sure that
We have laws.
To change the systems that
We have-
support
we do
corruption,
have
that
laws, but
enable
those
it.
laws have loopholes because there's no way in a country where a person knows that all he needs to do to get out of being taken into account is to amass enough wealth that you can use your loot to be able to fight this judicial process. And we've seen it happen. There are people who have been
Well,
involved in
well,
it.
I'm afraid we would have to drop this
in
conversation now.
2015, we passed the Criminal Justice Act, the Administration of Criminal Justice Act.
Yes,
This was the most far-reaching reform we've ever made in our criminal reform system. But since 2015 till now, how many corruption indictments or convictions have we had?
We're saying the
None.
same thing.
Well,
In case,
I'm
that's what
sure-
I'm saying. We have laws, but
I'm
there's
sure-
no
I'm sure the
political
fight-
will
the
to
fight
ensure
of-
that there's an enforcement.
the fight on corruption definitely will play itself out more in 2019. But we move on to the next story.